Right, hello YouTube users. Okay, I'm going to do something a little bit different today on this video. I'm going to talk about my autism. Right, for those of you who don't know what autism is, it is kind of a medical condition which people are born with. What it is it limits people's communication skills, and they act differently than other people and see things in a different light than other people. Okay then, right, okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 4 years old. Okay, my parents were told that I would never speak or anything. Okay. Right. Okay, it did take me a long time to speak. Again, I think I was about 5 years old when I said my first sentence, and that was in Cornwall. When we were on holiday, I said, "This is real fish." As you can imagine, my parents nearly fell off their chair. We were I think Lizard's Point. We were at an outdoor cafe, I think we were. Okay, here's some of my pet obsessions I had. I used to have when I was little. One pet obsession, washing machines. That was an obsession that I had. When I used to go to other people's houses, I just had to run into the kitchen to have a look at the washing machine. It was very rare that it was on. Sometimes I used to get lucky and it did used to be on. When I was staying at school, I was so obsessed with washing machines. Sometimes the teachers used to take me home when they had washing to do, and show me their washing machine going and stuff like that. Right, okay, in the 70s and early 80s, all autistic kids used to board at school. I don't know for what reason those days, but I used to get pretty homesick though. Susan used to get upset about going home without me when the parents used to be allowed to visit during the evenings. Susan, if anyone doesn't know, is my sister. She was about 3 years old when all this was happening. Two autistic schools where I went to were Rosebank and Wargrave House School. The head teacher of Rosebank, I'm not going to mention his name here, did reckon that I would never talk or do anything a normal person would do. But in this day and age, I manage my own money. I do have to admit though, never mind, I manage my own money, I drive my own car, and I also have my own website, which is www.timnixon.co.uk. If you go to the side of this video, you might see a link to it, or just go to my profile and there should be a link there, and that will give you a more more of an insight of my experience with my childhood and stuff like that. What else was there? Yeah, I went into mainstream education. I went to a mainstream school when I was 9. That was in 1983. I still had my temper tantrums and mostly sometimes at school. I had one notable temper tantrum got me in particular trouble when all the choppies sold out in the school canteen, and I got really mad and I screamed, and in the style of the Walker's Crisp advert, I kicked the counter and I shouted, "Choppy! Choppy!" And the headmaster, I didn't notice the headmaster coming up behind me, and I just felt a whack on my backside. He then took me to the side and he told me off. He did make sure the friendship was restored though by shaking my hand later and letting me get my dinner. But you guessed it right, I did get my choppy in the end though. And I did have the same temper tantrum again because for the second time the dinner lady put baked beans on my plate, and I didn't want baked beans, and so I shouted at her, and Mr. Firth came to me again and gave me a whack across the backside. What else was? When I got to a comprehensive school, I was still having some temper tantrums. Here's one I had. One time the prefects would not let me in the library, and I got cross and I kicked the door, and you should see, and I could see the prefect's shocked look on their face. I was screaming, "I want to get into the library." And my temper tantrum was not over even when I got into the library. There was a circular thing that stopped books, and I span it round fast, and all the books went flying, and the librarian was cross, and she went, "What do you think you're doing?" But yeah, I was pretty spoilt. I was pretty spoilt when at my early stages at the comprehensive school. But I did pay for it during my later years because I got bullied at school quite heavily. Because they were prejudiced, because some of the other pupils were anti-autistic, and there are people that don't like autistic people because they don't. I don't know why people don't like autistic people, whether it's because we get extra allowance and they get into their heads that they have to pay tax because of my disability living allowance or what have you. But I pay as much tax as anybody. Another thing that got me into trouble at school was one day we were doing cookery lessons, and one of the things is that we had to use big knives. The murderers had to use it. The murderers used in slasher movies. And I pretended to be Norman Bates out of Psycho. I'm not corrupt. I was just fooling around, and I went with this. And we were making risotto, by the way, and I went with this knife, and I went, and I got into trouble off Mrs. Rutter, and she was really, really shocked more than anything. Mrs. Rutter is my special needs teacher, by the way, and the week after I got the piss taken out of me while during rugby practice, and after I got changed, I screamed, "Mrs. Rutter, where were you when I needed you most?" or something like that. What else? I do remember. Yeah, I've thrown a few wobblers while I was on holiday. One wobbler in particular was when we were in Mallorca. My mum, I wanted to have squid and ink on the first night at Mallorca, and my parents wouldn't let me, and I went mad and I went, I want squid and ink! I was 13 by the way, but I did end up having something else. And by the way, my brother had the best dish. Okay, and also I got myself into quite a bit of debt while my mum was doing aid work in Bangladesh. And also put on a lot of weight. None of this is on my website though, because I'm not ready to put it on my website because it's in the 2000s. None of that is on my website. My website only tells the story up to 1998, by the way. Anyway, I was living mainly off takeaways, which is quite a wholesome meal, as you can imagine. Also, I was buying loads and loads and loads and loads of DVDs and other silly stuff. I really wasn't looking after myself at all, and my gran, who was in her 80s, who was about 81 by the way, had to go round and clean the house, and she wasn't very happy about it. I think one day I once told her to shut up because she was moaning at me, I think. I have lost my temper with my gran in the past, which I'm not really proud of. Also, when my mum came home, she had to sort me out, had to sort my debt out, and she wasn't very happy, and I don't think she was very happy about that, and certainly not happy about me putting on a lot of weight. Anyway, if you've seen my other YouTube videos, you will see that I have been quite fat in the past. I do own my own car, and I do pay for my insurance. I do look after my money better. My money is tied up at the minute in this and that, with rising price of fuel tax and fuel payments, and taking the dog to Reddish Vale from Runcorn and stuff like that. Do have the odd flutter still every now and then. That means spending spree every now and then, but there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. Okay. Any questions, just ask. I might do another video of it, or I might answer your questions in a text. Okay? Well, thank you very much for watching this video, and make another video again soon.